is the MBC affecting the lethality at all, or are we downgrading that in any way?
Chair, no. The lethality requirement that we have for the vehicle remains as contracted. That's not a minimum viable capability change from what we had previously required or designed into the program. So it is to deliver against that lethality requirement.
All right, Scotty, I might hand back to you and then I'll wrap up.
Just in conclusion, so you've got the price of a unit that we don't discuss, but then there is the, you mentioned the storage capacity. Mr Brown, you mentioned, Major General Brown, you mentioned the training capacity. How do you factor in those costs? Because when I do a quick cost analysis, I'm thinking we already own the facilities and we're already, the soldiers that we're going to be training are already on our payroll. So how do you factor in that cost into this project?
I might just start off. So obviously we will be looking at new facilities for some of these systems. The maintenance requirements, the simulation requirements is a good example. We're training our soldiers on reconfigurable driver systems. We're training them on immersive tactical trainers. They require classrooms and systems set up specifically for that. Because of the nature of the ammunition types we're using, there's a munition requirement that is different to what we currently have in service. The way we establish our ranges to fire those weapon systems. So there are a number of costs that are included that are not normally, would not be sitting there today without the introduction of this capability. But I might hand over to both General Vague and General Brown in regard to some of the other things that Army pay for or have to be considered when introducing a new system like this.
Major General Kurt Brown. So fundamental inputs to capability are part of the cost model as the project goes forward. As mentioned, so maintenance is an important part. The maintenance facilities, the simulation facilities for training are to be built, and they're built in Edinburgh, and then currently the facility being built in Townsville, and then the training lengths and the training itself. So in Puckapunyal, the training will occur. So the vehicle fleet's there, obviously part of the 129 vehicles, but the training itself, the delivery of the training and the design of the training is a component of that as we build through.
How much of the cost, the unit cost, is not attributable to the unit, which is the training, the storage, the parking, the maintenance? How much of that?
I could perhaps get you a bit of a breakdown if I look at what we have contracted to Hanwha to deliver. There's a certain amount of budget that goes towards the vehicle and the system around the vehicle that they're responsible for. And then there's other costs involved in those areas.
The training, the school,
yes,
the classrooms, the storage of ammunition, just the stuff that you know that you've got a line of sight to. That would have been costed in your...
Yeah, Deputy Chair, I have not got those figures on me to give those to you, what those other costs might involve.
Do the department have those costs at hand?
We have information that will talk to where we are in contract with other elements that are not Hanwha, for example. So where we are looking at contracts with others who are providing, whether it be communication systems or providing ammunition and those munition systems. I've got, we can preview costs for some of the simulation systems. So I think if I take that on notice for you and I come back and show you what those costs, those contracts currently look like.
Yep. ANAO, do you have a breakdown?
To the specific question, no, not in the audit report. I think it is worth, though, just clarifying some aspects from the earlier discussion, Deputy Chair, if I may, to the Chair's question, and it goes to some of the discussion around the EOS, Remote Weapon System. So I think, and there are some learnings here, and that goes to the recommendation that's been accepted by the Department. But the learnings go to the fact that the project's tender documentation did seek a mature and proven technology. Now, while that was not clearly defined, and there were other findings around the relative weighting importance within the tender evaluation criteria, the audit report notes that Defence had undertaken through the life cycle of the project, market testing and potentially mature improvement options for the Land 400. The report does, the Auditor-General's report does say in paragraphs 3.25 and 3.26 that Hanwha had advised that there were integration concerns around the EOS. So while it is true that EOS is a system that has been around for a while, the issue is around how that gets integrated with an advanced turret and how that all gets integrated into a vehicle of this nature. The point that the Auditor-General is making is that while not saying that you need to do mature off-the-shelf systems, Defence Analysis had identified, and that's in footnote 27, that there were at least a number of variants that were available. The lesson from this is around, given the urgency, and the Department has identified, and we talk about that in paragraphs 2.21 and 2.22, that there was an urgency to replace the M113. In that context, introducing integration risks introduces other risks that the departments have to manage, and that goes to the Auditor-General calling out the two significant high risks around lethality and mobility. On the question of MVC, I would just note that in paragraph 3.30 of the Auditor-General's report, this follows the Scram review and then a delivery assurance review that was conducted in late 2025, July and September 2025, that delivery assurance review had recommended to conduct a second Scram review, which is an independent review, and Defence had advised the ANAO in March 2026 that a minimum viable capability approach for the RWS, described as an initial subset of functionality within pathway to full capability, was being pursued as a risk mitigation strategy given the RWS schedule pressure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll finish up if I could. Yeah, I'll finish up.
Go.
So I understand in any project like this that there's a life cycle cost. When you provide that data to the committee on notice, if you could just give some detail, I will use the per unit cost, and I just want to be able to separate out the life, the cost of life, and the additional stuff as opposed to the machinery itself. So if I could ask you to offer some, and if I need to take that in confidence through the committee process, you have that licence as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Deputy Chair.
Yeah. Thanks, Chair. That's all.
No, thanks, Scotty. I think following on the comments from the Auditor-General, I mean, isn't it fair to say, and this is my last question, I mean, isn't it fair to say that there are still ongoing risks with the delivery and the delivery schedule? They have been highlighted by the Scram review, the independent assessment review, Hanwha itself, all relating to the integration of the RWS. And despite them saying that it's the lowest risk, the point isn't whether or not it's the lowest risk, it's whether or not we'll have the capability and the ability for us to use this in the timeline in which we have set out and are paying for. I guess, what assurances do you have for this committee that this is understood and are being managed appropriately?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I can give the committee assurance that this is one element of the project that we are giving intensive management to. It is an area that I constantly am including in my own strategic relationship board meetings. I meet with the Hanwha leadership on this topic, amongst others as well. But I can assure you we are giving this our full attention to ensure that our soldiers get the capability they need to operate this vehicle and function this vehicle as it is contracted to do, as it needs to do, in the most demanding of circumstances.
All right. Well, I guess I appreciate that, Major General, and I have no doubt it's an extremely technical and difficult job you've got ahead of you. And I reiterate the comments from my colleagues that we all thank you very much for your service, and we do appreciate the work you're doing. And as I said earlier, after speaking to some of the people who are working inside our infantry vehicles, they are great Australians, and we owe them a great amount of gratitude, and we owe them the best to be able to do their jobs. And that's why so much scrutiny is being put into this, because this committee is an important function of the Parliament, and it is important that the Parliament has the ability to ask these direct questions. And while there has been some attention given to the NPR, the fact that this is an inquiry based off a performance review done by the Auditor-General's office, I think it highlights the importance of this process and the importance of the Parliament having oversight and having the ability to ask these direct questions. So I do thank you very much for participating in this. I think it's an important feature of our system and our oversight. But if there are further questions, we will forward them via the Secretariat, and if you can have responses by Monday, 10 August, that would be much appreciated. Other than that, if there any other members have any questions on notice they'd like to ask the department, we will if you could send them to the Secretariat, and we will also have a conversation internally in the committee about what other potential either further hearings or further questions that might be needed. But for now, I thank you all very much again for your service and for being a part of the hearings today. I thank the Auditor-General's Office and all of those in the parliamentary staff and the Secretariat for working today to help make it happen, and I declare the hearing closed.